Hey guys, today we're back with another versus review. And today on the channel, we'll be doing the versus review between the P365 Sig Sauer 9mm versus the Springfield Hellcat OSP 9mm. Both of these firearms was lended to me from Center Target Firearms and Range in London, Kentucky. So if you'd like to check them out, there'll be a link in the description below. That'll take you straight to their website. You can check out everything they have for sale on there and other items as well. So guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the versus review. This is one that I've actually been wanting to do for a long time now. Had multiple requests whenever the Hellcat first come out, but I had problems finding it, and then it kind of got on the back burner with some other higher end stuff I was fooling with, but I kind of forgot my raising, I guess is what you'd say, whenever it comes to my YouTube channel. And I was like, hey, whenever I can get the chance, first thing that's going to be on the bat is the P365 versus the Hellcat. I'm glad I can finally make this for you all, so here we go. The P365 was the first firearm to be released in this manner. It was the first firearm to have a pretty good capacity of 10 rounds in this small of a compactness, as you can see here. 3-inch barrel, night sights front and back, and first come out with the curved trigger, as you see here. This right here is kind of one of the first ones that did come out from what I can tell. I can actually give you a quick up-to-date on that. This was produced in 27 March of 2019. So this is, you know, relatively speaking, one of the first models. They do now have them as the X model, which you can have a flat face trigger such as it's on the Hellcat already, and one with a safety as well. I have had one with a safety, and I have had the 365 XL that did have the flat face trigger. So I'll take a little bit of consideration into that with this review as well. Since I've had all of them, I can talk about them as well. The 365 has always fit my hand just like a glove. I think that, personally speaking, you could take a piece of clay and hold it and squeeze it as tight as you could, and that's how they got this this cutout here, or this actual grip thing. They actually, whenever they was designing this gun, is that they built a magazine that could hold the most capacity. And they built the firearm around it, which is very different. Most of the time you build the magazine around the firearm, but this time they built the firearm around the magazine, which is what made something like this come out in a few years later. So, as you can see here though, it is a subcompact or micro-compact, depending on how you say it, 9mm. Both the firearms was unloaded before we actually started this video, so everything here is safe to talk about. The trigger on this one, let's see here. We'll start off with the trigger for the review. It is a tad sponginess once you hit that wall, and the release is spongy as well, which if you get used to it, it isn't bad at all. You have a pretty clean break in it, which I like. I can hold this gun, and once you hear that break snap, it still doesn't move at all, which is good for accuracy. The magazine release here is in a triangle. As you can see, I can actuate it very easily from my hand here. I don't have to change my grip any bit. To fall free, I do a tad bit, just kind of move your hand a little bit and it will fall free. But I can still actuate it from a full grip. Throw one back into it and there you go. The trigger here on this one is a flat face trigger. It's got more of a, I'm trying to think how you would even say this. It's more of a 1911-ish feel to it. It's still a striker fire mechanism, so you have to keep that in mind, but it has more of what I'm used to trigger in it, if that makes sense to you, where I fire a lot more of 1911s than about I do anything else besides Glock. The flat face trigger helps that out as well, because once you have really no take up at all once you get to that wall, and you hit it and snap. Really crisp break as well, crisper break than the 365. Overall, I do like the trigger in the Hellcat better than the P365, but the 365s is not bad. But I do like, personally speaking, the Hellcat trigger better. Doesn't really, I'm not taking into consideration the flat face, since you can get the flat face in the 365 as well. But just the overall feel of the trigger pull and the snap of it is more crisp to me than the 365, so that's why I picked the Hellcat trigger over the 365s. Like I said as well, 365 and Hellcat can both have the actual ambidextrous safety as well, so point goes to both of them as that. The 365 does not have a standard 1913 Picatinny rail. I think Sig kind of messed up with that. They wanted consumers to more buy the Sig lights and Sig lasers and everything, so that's why they didn't make it a standard 1913 cut, which I think was a mess up in my honest opinion. The Hellcat does have a 1913 cut in it, so you can put a micro light or micro laser on it, such as the O-Lights make one, SureLight makes one, Streamfire makes one, or Surefire, Streamlight. Mix both of them together for a second. But all three of them companies do make lights that will fit on this, where only Sig will fit for this one. The controls on the 365 versus the Hellcat. The Hellcat's magazine release is not as prominent as the 6 hours to me anyway. To hit it, I do have to throw my hand around a tad bit to get it released. As you can see here, 365, as soon as I pick it up, you can drop it with your thumb very easily, and there's no problem at all with it. Whenever it comes to releases, I will 100% give it to the 365 over the Hellcat. How these guns shoot, to me, for some reason, I think it is a height over bore difference, maybe. To me, actually, after lining them up here, the height over bore is about the same, or not height over bore, sorry, think about an AR-15. The highness of the grip, to me here, feels a tad bit worse on the Hellcat than it does the 365. They're almost the exact same whenever it comes to actual weight and everything else. I think the Hellcat weighs 1 ounce more than the 365, but to me here, looking at them now, the Hellcat has a tad bit more metal across the top of it, which might be the reason behind a little bit more of the upward vertical recoil in it. I did have problems whenever it comes to the Hellcat for getting the sight back down and ready to shoot another round. Whenever the 365, it was very manageable with the recoil. You shoot it, it'll pop up a tad bit and come right back down. So for the recoil and how quick I can get a follow-up shot, it will be 365 for that one. Magazine capacity is a tad bit different. Sig was standard with a 10-round capacity with a 12+1 if you wanted a little bit longer of a grip. The Hellcat comes standard with a 11-round capacity flush fitting with a pink extension. So as you can see here, the guns are almost exactly the same size, but the Hellcat can put one more round into the chamber, or one more round into the magazine, where the P365 cannot. Looking at it here from the back, the Hellcat is a tad bit, I would say, probably 1/4 of an inch longer than the 365, so that might be how they put the 1 extra round in it. Both of them fit pretty good in my hands, and to be honest with you, both of them feel about the same in my hands. The 365 feels a tad bit slimmer though than the Hellcat. The Hellcat is more of a full feeling in my hand, but I do like the 365's grip feeling better. But going back on the magazines, 11+1 or 13+1, so you get 1 round of capacity more with a Hellcat than the 365, so I'll have to give it to the Hellcat for capacity. Touching back on what we was talking about a minute ago with the grip size, these 365 feels slimmer in my hand, which I can have more control over. The Hellcat feels more full in my hand, more of a blockiness to it, kind of like a Glock, and I have really good controllability with it as well. But if you want to add, say which one feels better in my hand, I would have to go with 365. Like I was saying though earlier, is that 365 feels like you took some clay and you squished it as hard as you could in your hand, and that's how they made the grip. Hellcats is very good as well, don't get me wrong, but it feels more Glockish than it does anything else. So if you all own a Glock, you understand what I mean. Accuracy issues with the 365, I've had probably, I'd say now, over 10 of these things over the years, and I've never had a single accuracy issue one. Every single one I've ever had, wherever the sights are aiming, that's where I'm hitting at the standard 7 to 10 yard range with it. Even at 15 yards, which is where we shot most of our firing today, shot perfectly. 30 yards, backed it out a tad bit, was still getting constant hits on a man-sized target. Even backed it out to 50 yards at one point, and hit about half the rounds that I shot at. I think out of 8 bullets, I hit 4 times. So not bad. The Hellcat on the other side, though, had some very severe elevation issues. The thing about this, though, is that it cannot be adjusted for elevation. It can only be adjusted for windage, which is left or right. Elevation is up and down. Elevation issues that we had at 15 yards was approximately, I'd say at 15 yards was about a foot lower than where I was aiming. At 30 yards is about 2 foot lower than where I was aiming. So at 30 yards, I was having a very hard time hitting a man-sized target until I figured out where to aim. At 15 yards, once I figured out where to aim, I was doing a little bit better, but at 7 yards, it was almost right on the money. It was right at about a, if you do a 6 o'clock hold, it's about 6 inches lower, or it was, your muzzle was 6 inches lower than where it was hitting. So not too bad off, but just keep that in mind. It cannot be adjusted for elevation. But where this one has a red dot cut on it, where the 365 here doesn't, but they do make 365s now that do have a red dot cut. But where the Hellcat here does have a red dot cut on it, and you can throw one on that, you could get it right where you want it if you wanted to set it in at 7 yards, 15 yards, 30, or, which I don't recommend with this handgun that's small, 50 yards, you can do it. So just keep that in mind if you do get the normal Hellcat, that it cannot be adjusted for elevation. And I'm not for certain if this is the only gun, because this is the only Hellcat I've ever owned. I'm not for certain if everybody has seen them issues, though, with the elevation. So I'd like to, if you all have one, shout out in the comment section below and let me know what you all thought about it. Does yours have elevation issues as well, like I was seeing here? I was using standard 115 with both of these today and never had a single malfunction with either of them. Hellcat, we threw about 150 rounds through. P365, we only shot about 50 since I have used this one time and time again. I actually don't conceal carry either of these. I actually conceal carry Glock 34, but the 365 is very nice, and I have concealed carried it before in the past. The Hellcat, though, I haven't. That being said, though, which one would I rather have over either of them? To be honest with you, I would probably still pick the 365. Even though the Hellcat is a little bit more updated than the 365 I have here, I would still rather have the 365. I don't know what Sig done whenever they first built this, but they just got it right. Everybody has some growing issues whenever it comes to a new firearm release. Colt has them, Glock has them, Smith & Wesson has them, and Sig has them as well. Sig's issues that they first had with these was some of the primer, or the strikers was breaking in them. They fixed that really quickly. They fixed the primer drag in them and fixed the actual striker. And I haven't had heard or had a single issue out of the 365 since the first batch was made. The Hellcats, to be honest with you all, I didn't really check in that much with them whenever they first released. I just kept on trying to get one. And after I pretty much figured out that you couldn't find one for 6 or 7 months, I kind of quit looking into them. I really wasn't that interested in them. It was kind of just the same design as the 365, but I was like, hey, I might still try and pick one up, but here we are today. But overall being said, though, I don't know if there was any issues with the Hellcat when it first released. I didn't really see many publicized, but neither of the firearms today had any issues. But overall, I would still pick the 365. Like I was saying, I really don't know what it is about this gun that they done, but they just done it right. Grip module feels perfect on it. Recoil is very manageable, and it is about the same every single time you shoot it. Only thing that I would change personally is I wish the Hellcat had, or I wish the 365 had the same trigger mechanism in here as, or I wish the 365 had the same trigger mechanism as the Hellcat, just because the brake on this one still leaves some to be desired. It's not as crisp and a little bit spongy. The Hellcat, those trigger is better. But now, that being said, though, I would still pick the 365 over the Hellcat. So, guys, let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Once again, both of them great firearms, and both of them is probably the 2 most bought concealed carry pieces in the nation right now. And I would say still the 365 has had a decently more bought than the Hellcat, just because it come out about a year before the Hellcat did. But if I had to pick between these two, same price, same everything else, I'd still pick the P365 by Sig Sauer. So guys, I appreciate y'all viewing today. Once again, a big thank you to Center Target Firearms and Range for lending me both of these firearms to review at the same time. You can check out their website by going to the link in the description below, and it'll take you straight to them. Check out everything they have on there for sale. If you're in the area of Kentucky, Southeastern, you can go by, swing by, use their range. Got a killer facility, and you can rent both of these firearms. So if you don't want to take my word for it, you can rent them both and try them out yourself. So guys, once again, thank y'all for viewing as always. Like and subscribe for more gun reviews because it always helps us out. And guys, I'll see y'all in the next video.